This is Mr. Announcer from the Marc Berman Radio Show. Marc Berman is a major minor celebrity in Atlantic City. He interviews the biggest names in the music and entertainment world. He gets asked the same question time and time again. Who are you?
I'm Marc Berman, and this is my podcast.
Hello. Is this on?
On this episode of the Marc Berman podcast, we're talking to a very acclaimed author. Yeah, author today. In fact, he has 2 books. You can find them on Amazon. We're going to get to know, and you're going to meet a very interesting guy. His name is Dean Fenton. And right now, you can order this, My Time at the Door, on Amazon. Oh, we'll tell you how. First, we want you to meet this guy. My conversation with Dean Fenton. Dean, welcome to the Marc Berman podcast.
Marc, thank you for having me.
Now, full disclosure, we know each other, I guess, 18 years.
But it just seemed like yesterday, right?
And since you and I know each other, we want the world to know who he is. Heart of gold, huge, great, awesome personality, and people need to know who Dean Fenton is. So first, where are you from?
I'm from the beautiful island of Antigua. It's
So-
in the Caribbean for those who don't know the geography. In the Caribbean.
Okay, so you were born and raised in Antigua.
Born and raised in Antigua, and as a youngster, I came to the state, migrated to New York, grew up in the Bronx. Later on, moved to Mount Vernon. Now I'm further north now, Marc. I'm now in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Now, he said migrated to the States. He has a bit of a Caribbean accent, but he said New York. Where'd that come from?
Well, after 40 years, Marc, something has to stick, right? So, yeah.
You're an author.
Yes.
Were you always interested in writing and being a literary person, agent? You produced your own book.
Yeah. I always, as a kid, from as long as I can remember, I was always fascinated with words, Marc. And I had a very good memory and an art for storytelling. And one day one of my friends said to me, Dean, you should really start writing some of these phrases down, some of these storytelling things down. And when COVID happened, I totally took that up and started, put down my thoughts on paper. I never really kept a diary per se, Marc. So basically, over the years, I've always done it. Now looking at it, I've always written things down that I was passionate about, that I thought I was curious about. And hence the 3rd book is going to be called My Theory of Thoughts, because these are all those things that I questioned as I was growing up as a young man.
So in your books, you pull from your life experiences in your poems. Give us some life experiences you remember from Antigua.
I remember growing up as a little kid. We had one television growing up, Marc. It's not like today. You have Netflix and you have this, Hulu, and you have all these things. And basically, even for my writing, when the television was not on or the station ended, which was before midnight, what your older folks or your grandmother would do, my grandmother in this reference, she would tell us stories. So you grew up in a house between 6 and maybe 10 o'clock, just listen to your grandmother tell you these beautiful stories.
Well, that's family time.
Yeah, it was family time and it was story time as well. And, as I got older, and when I look back now, some of those storytelling and appetite for that type of language and the fascination for words really came from my grandmother telling us all those stories over the years.
Besides an author, during the day, you have something that keeps you pretty busy, and nights. Oh, wait a minute, and some weekends. Wait a minute, and overnights.
Yeah,
wait a minute. You spend time in airplanes.
A lot.
You have a love of America, and you love your island, and you are what?
I'm the U.S. Director for Tourism for my beautiful island, twin island destination, which is Antigua and Barbuda. So I wear
Director
two
of
hats.
Tourism
Today I only have one on.
for Antigua. He knows tourism. We know him for all these years for what he does and what he brings to his island. Promotion, getting people to know about the island, and he's the U.S. guy that does this.
Yes,
what
I
a
am.
position.
Yeah.
How long have you had that?
I've worked for Antigua now going on 13 years, but I've held this position now for what, 4 years, Marc, I think, just about.
In that one, but you were always involved in tourism.
Yeah, I actually got my start with the Anguilla Tourism Board. I was there from the inception of their first U.S.
Anguilla,
office.
I see now all this. I didn't know this about
Yeah,
you.
I started off with Anguilla and eventually went on to work for Antigua, which is my birthplace.
Okay, so now you know this about Dean. What kind of music do you like?
I like reggae, calypso. You know, I'm a Caribbean man, so that has to come first. But I also like jazz. Love jazz. Love blues and R&B. Love it all.
Sports?
Basketball. Huge basketball fan. Huge. Played a lot of ball growing up, Marc. You know, did some damage on the court as well. For the guys who remembered, you know.
Food?
Food. I'm a foodie. Still love my Caribbean food. I get nostalgic for that from time to time, but I really love Italian food. I must say that I really do.
And you're a New York resident,
Yes,
the
I
state of New York.
Yes, I am.
And you've moved a couple times, but you stay in New York.
Yeah.
Okay?
I still love the city. So never want to be too far from New York City.
Yeah, I want to put this in the podcast. You're going to be listening to this, okay? Yeah, we'd like you to move to Atlantic City. Okay, I'm done. I did it. I said my piece. Move here.
You know, show me a good deal, Marc, and I'll jump on it. Maybe we'll go look at some places before we leave, you know.
And we podcast we're based in Atlantic City at the Berman Travel Media Center here in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Dean, let's talk about my time at the door.
Yes.
Okay? It's different from waltzing
In the breeze.
in the breeze.
Yes.
What is this? And by the way, these are poems.
Yes.
Okay.
Poem, short stories, but mostly poems, yeah?
So, I mean, this is not 12 pages. This is a pretty thick book. I think we're looking at 194 pages.
Mm-hmm.
This comes from somewhere.
Yes,
Where?
it does. It's a good question, Marc. My theory of my time at the door, it's pretty much encompasses half the things I've seen in my life. It deals with heartbreak, deals with love, family, the world as we know it, while we're here, all the questions we had, and the passage and the journey we've taken through life. So this is part of my journey. Just imagine me standing at the door, like a doorman will do, and see all these people and have all these stories. And pretty much that's what my time at the door deals with. All the things I've seen,
And you're sharing your life experiences in my time at the door.
That is absolutely correct.
So you said family. Do you write about your grandmother in this one?
Everybody in my family have pretty much touched in some shape or form.
So to our audience,
Yeah.
where should they go? What will influence them? Could this influence their life? Could this change their life? Could this make them feel and look at life and life experiences differently?
Absolutely, because I think we all have questions about love, about life, about existence, about God, about, religion, what have you. All those topics I try to tackle in the book, and hopefully somebody will find something useful from reading one of those topics.
Are one of your passages in here? Is there something that you can share with us?
Absolutely.
I'd love that.
Living is like that of an annual event, with renewed determination, with justifiable reasons on its own accord, with a sense of alarm, actively engaged, like that of a kissing booth, which is laden with kisses. The reality, it was not enough. Where are we going wrong? A controversy, but its benefits far outweighs the risk. And some people do not believe in anything. After all this world has shown us, still, there's nothing left to hide behind. The naked world, I cling to you. So if this is how it ends, is there a cure for hate?
Wow.
And that's just one that I toyed with.
So, what brought that out of you? What was it that influenced that passage, if you remember? What was it?
I remember as a youngster going to church with my grandmother, and there was a couple that we used to sit beside every day in church. And I said to my grandmother one day, "Whatever became of so-and-so?" And she said, "They got a divorce." And I was a little kid. I was like, "After 35 years of marriage?" And she said, "Dean, everything comes to an end. At some point, everything comes to an end." So that, I was curious as a kid to try to figure out how could someone be in love for 35 years with each other and one day they just hate. And that's what really triggered and inspired me to write that poem.
I'm going to read from the foreword from Waltzing in the Breeze. Waltzing in the Breeze will not only steal your heart, it will let you become a smarter person. Dean Fenton was able to do what most poets only dream about. His unique parables and innovative way of writing give the reader real insight into his journey that so many of us must make. And then they write brilliant. Who did your foreword?
Angela Bassett.
No, wait a minute. That Angela Bassett?
The Angela Bassett. Yep, she did it.
How did you meet her?
Actually, many moons ago, when Obama became president, she was invited by our government to come to Antigua and lend her support, since it was the first time a man of color has gotten to that prominence. And she was a beautiful person, beautiful soul. We met, connected, and remained friends. And when I was doing the book, she thought it was great, and she was willing and happy to help me in my journey with the book.
What an honor. Yes. But wait a minute. Hollywood came knocking again for another forward on your My Time at the Door book? Yeah. Who did that one?
Dawn Lewis did that one. She's a famous American actress. She was in Another World. She was on The Cosby Show. She was in Tina Turner just recently on Broadway. So, great soul as well.
You see, he's connected. You see these people who found Dean, like you're going to, picking up My Time at the Door and Waltzing in the Breeze on Amazon. When do you have time to get your thoughts together? All day you're talking to tourism professionals, right, people in the industry. So when do you get these thoughts, and when do you do your writing?
Marc, you and I, we're artists. We never shut off. We never shut off. I sleep with a pen and a pad at my table at nights because I might have a tourism idea that I don't want it to go to the wayside, and I'll get up and write it down. Now with the phone, you could just, speak into it. But I've done this, like I said earlier in the interview, I've never actually written down I never had a diary. I never kept a diary, I should say. But I always wrote things down so I would never forget them, that I was curious about, that I was fascinated about. And hence the third book is going to be called A Theory of Thoughts.
Everybody's looking for answers.
Yeah.
Especially today. Everybody's looking. Many people are confused, but they're looking for guidance. You can find some of that in My Time at the Door, because Dean has given it a lot of thought.
I have.
And this book could be what you're looking for. Where is it available?
Both of my books are available on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com and type in My Time at the Door. or just type in Dean Fenton, and both books will show up. And
He's self-published. Wait till you hear this.
so I started dabbling on Amazon, dabbling on their website how to self-publish, and I finally figured it out. And then I got my graphic designer to design the cover, and I figured out what size I wanted it to be, etc. And here we are with 2 books later on.
Now, again, how can they find you on Amazon?
You put my name in. Remember this name. It's Dean Fenton. Type the name in, my time at the door, and both books will show up.
Now, my social media is about me. That's why it's called social media. If it was about you, it would be called social udia. So what's your social udia address? Where can people find you on your social media?
Look, just type in Dean Fenton, and I'm all over.
Facebook?
Facebook, Dean
Instagram?
Instagram, Dean Fenton, and it's all on my social media platform. Dean
Do you
Fenton.
have a website?
A website I do not have, but I am on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
He is such a man of today because people don't have websites anymore. They use that Facebook thing. Did you ever hear of that? Facebook? He uses that, and Instagram. That's where you'll find him. Dean Fenton, you're an awesome human being. I loved having you on here today. I only wish you the best things in life because honestly, everyone whose life you touch is better off because of that. You are a good soul. And I loved having you on the Marc Berman podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Marc. I wish you lots of success. I can only aspire, Marc, to be like you. But thanks for the time. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it, people.
The Marc Berman Show is always on. Go to markberman.com for our podcasts of our past shows and interviews.